Usually when we kick off a deep dive, I like to come in hot,
Yeah.
to drill high energy, get things going. Let's tackle a huge topic.
Yeah, that's the usual mode.
But today feels different. I actually want to invite you to do the opposite. Just for a moment, let's slow down. Take a breath. Because the subject we're looking at today really demands a different kind of attention. We are looking at Yasujirō Ozu's 1953 masterpiece, Tokyo Story.
It really does demand a gear shift. And it's funny, we're talking about a film that has sat, comfortably at the top of the Sight and Sound poll for decades.
The Bible of serious cinema, yeah.
Exactly. And yet, it's a movie where if you just look at the screenplay, you think almost nothing happens.
Right. And looking through the stack of sources for today, we've got these amazing critical reflections from the British Film Institute, deep essays from Criterion.
And those video breakdowns of his technique.
Yeah. And there's this one central question that just keeps rising to the surface. It's a question that, honestly, I've been sitting with all week.
What is it?
Can love be present even when no one notices?
That is the question. And I think we need to set the ground rules right now. This isn't a movie review.
Right.
We aren't going to give you a, thumbs up, thumbs down, or walk you through every single plot beat.
No spoilers, but also spoiling Tokyo Story, kind of impossible. The plot isn't the point.
It really isn't.
Yeah.
We're here to explore this very specific theme that comes up in all the sources, this idea of silent devotion. We want to try and understand why a film made up of just ordinary moments.
Packing a suitcase, sitting in a waiting room, drinking tea.
Right. Why does that hold such immense emotional weight? Why does this film break people's hearts without ever really raising its voice?
That's our mission today, to just observe the quiet drift of family life without judgment. So let's start there. When we think of family drama in media today, what's the default?
Oh, high volume.
Right. Shouting matches, huge secrets exploding, someone storms out, slams the door. It's Succession.
It's conflict driving everything forward. That's the rhythm we expect. But Tokyo Story gives us the complete opposite. It presents what the sources call the architecture of stillness.
I love that phrase, architecture of stillness. But let's get technical for just a second. What does that actually look like on screen? Because Ozu is, famous for breaking the rules.
He really is. And the most famous example, which the BFI analysis goes deep on, is the tatami shot.
Okay, for anyone listening who hasn't spent years in film school, break that down for us. What is the tatami shot?
So in almost every Western movie, especially from that era, the camera is at eye level. If we're standing, the camera is 5 or 6 feet off the ground. It's mimicking how a person walks around.
Yeah.
Ozu basically said no. He bolted his camera to this special tripod that was only about 2 or 3 feet high.
The height of someone kneeling on a tatami mat.
Exactly, and he almost never moves it. No panning, no zooming, no dolly shots. The camera just sits.
It sounds so restrictive.
Yeah.
But the essays suggest this actually changes the psychological relationship between you, the viewer, and the characters.
It completely changes the power dynamic. Think about it. When a camera is hovering over a scene, panning around, you feel like a ghost or a god. You're a voyeur.
You're floating above it all.
Yes. But when you're down low, kneeling on the floor with them, you're a guest. You are inhabiting that space with them. You aren't just watching the family. You are sitting in the room.
It forces you into this posture of listening. You're not looking down on them, you're looking across at them.
And there's another technical rule he breaks that drives film students crazy. The 180-degree rule.
Oh, this is a good one. This is about where the characters are looking, right?
Right. Standard filmmaking 101. If I'm on the left talking to you on the right, the camera has to stay on one side of our imaginary line.
So our eye lines match up for the audience.
Exactly. If it crosses the line, suddenly I'm looking the wrong way and it feels disorienting. Ozu just didn't care.
He didn't care at all.
He creates a complete 360-degree space. He puts the camera wherever he thinks the best composition is. And the sources argue this stops us from getting sucked into the drama of the conversation.
How so?
Well, instead of just tracking who's winning the argument, the slight visual confusion forces you to look at the whole picture, the room, their posture, the space between them.
It connects back to that idea from the Criterion essays that the film does not accuse anyone.
It acts as a witness.
Yes. By refusing to manipulate your eye with a zoom or a quick cut, the film refuses to tell you what to feel.
Which is, honestly, it's terrifying for a modern viewer. We're so used to the movie doing the work for us. Music swells, feel sad, close up on a tear, feel empathy.
Right.
Ozu just gives you a wide shot of an old couple packing their bags.
Yeah.
Silence. And he basically says, you figure out the emotion.
And what emerges from that silence isn't the highlight reel. It's what the sources call the cinema of everyday life. So much screen time is dedicated to, well, to nothing.
Unfolding bedding. Waiting
Bus.
for a bus.
Yeah. And there's that famous concept, pillow shots.
Pillow shots.
Can you explain that? It's such a strange term.
It actually comes from Japanese poetry, these pillow words that just set a mood. In Ozu's films, they're these little shots of scenery that happen between scenes.
Like a smokestack against the sky.
Or a vase in a corner. A clothesline flapping in the wind. And they aren't establishing shots, right? They're not telling us, meanwhile, back at the factory.
No, they have no narrative function.
They're punctuation. It's like taking a deep breath between paragraphs. The BFI source describes them as containers for the audience's emotion. If a scene was sad, that shot of the empty vase just lets the sadness settle into you.
So the stillness isn't just an artistic choice. It's a tool to force us to process the texture of these lives. Which I guess brings us to the people themselves. Because if there's no shouting, where does the conflict come from?
The conflict is time. The sources all point to this very specific dynamic, the drift of family.
There's a quote from the research that really stuck with me. Time changes relationships more than conflict.
That's a heavy one.
It feels so true. We always think estrangement happens because of some big fight. You know, someone said something awful at Christmas and now we don't talk.
But Tokyo's story explores what they call the modern gap. Now, we should touch on the context. This is post-war Japan, 1953. The country is rebuilding, shifting so fast from traditional values to Western capitalism, but
the feeling is universal.
Completely universal. It's the feeling of the relentless busyness of adult children versus the undeniable slowing down of aging parents.
So let's look at the villains of the movie. Shige and Koichi, the son and daughter in Tokyo.
And you're right to put villains in air quotes there.
Are they villains? I mean, are they?
That's the trap. It is so easy to watch this movie and just hate them. Their parents, Shukichi and Tomi, travel all the way from their small village to see them, and when they get there, the kids are just annoyed.
They literally don't know what to do with them. The son's a doctor. He's always busy. The daughter runs a salon. She's worried about clients. And you just feel the inconvenience radiating off of them.
But here's the kicker, and the sources are really firm on this. The children aren't bad. They're not cruel.
No, they're just living.
They have jobs, they have their own kids, they have the momentum of just surviving.
One of the experts from the BFI suggests that their relationships are shaped by routine and obligation more than malice. We see them performing the roles of son or daughter, but the spark, it's gone.
And there's a devastating scene that illustrates this perfectly. The kids realize they're too busy to entertain their parents, so what do?
They pool their money.
And they send them to a hot spring resort in Atami.
Which, on paper, sounds nice. Hey, Mom and Dad, here's an all-expenses-paid trip to a spa.
On paper, it's a gift. In reality, it's an exile. They're shipping them off so they don't have to deal with them. And when the parents get to the resort, it's so noisy. It's full of young people partying. They can't sleep.
And they're just sitting on that seawall in their robes, looking completely lost.
That image of them on the seawall, it breaks you. Because it captures that specific feeling where you can be cared for, someone paid for the hotel, but you feel completely invisible.
It's a kind cruelty.
Mm-hmm.
The distance doesn't happen in one big moment. It just grows quietly over years. 1,000 small moments where we all chose efficiency over connection.
Which brings us to a concept that I think is really difficult but so important. The paradox of care without attention.
This is the heavy lifting of the film, I think.
It really is.
The sources use this phrase, neglect can exist without cruelty. And I think for a lot of us, we equate neglect with something active, something mean.
Right.
But this suggests something much more subtle. You can check all the boxes, provide a place to sleep, buy the expensive cakes.
You're performing the duties of care, but you are missing the person right in front of you.
That distinction, doing versus seeing, is so powerful, and is highlighted by the character of Noriko. I have to talk about Noriko.
Played by the legendary Setsuko Hara. She is the widow of the parents' other son, the one who died in the war. So she's not a blood relation.
And yet she's the only one who treats them with genuine warmth. She takes a day off work to show them around Tokyo. She invites her mother-in-law to her tiny apartment and shares a meal.
And the sources point out this fascinating tension here. Noriko represents the ideal. She's almost too good. Some critics argue she's a fantasy of what a Japanese woman was supposed to be. But Ozu uses her to throw the failure of the blood children into really sharp relief.
It's that old saying, you can't choose your family, but Noriko chooses to be family.
Precisely. And she even admits it's hard. There's a moment where she confesses that she isn't purely selfless, that she worries about her own life. But in the moment, she offers them presents. The children offer presents, trips, snacks, money. Noriko offers her time.
This gets to that note on the thinking viewer, because Ozu doesn't tell you Noriko is good, Shig is bad. You have to participate. You have to do the work.
You have to bridge that gap. You have to look at the daughter, Shig, complaining about buying cakes for her parents, and realize, oh, she's not evil. She's just insecure. She's struggling financially and resentful of this burden.
It acts like a mirror. That's the thinking viewer thing. You aren't judging a fictional character anymore. You're suddenly wondering, wait, when was the last time I really saw my parents? Was I just checking my phone the whole time?
It's uncomfortable. The tragedy is created by life moving forward. It's nobody's fault, which makes it infinitely sadder. If Shig was just a cartoon villain, we could dismiss her, but she's us.
And that brings us back to the silence, the weight of silence. Let's talk about the auditory experience of the film. A source takeaway here is silence can be a form of truth.
In Western cinema, especially then, dialogue drove everything. People explain themselves, I am angry because of this, I love you because of that.
Right.
In Tokyo Story, the most important emotions are conveyed through what's left unsaid.
The pauses, the little oh and sounds.
The polite smiles. Setsuko Hara, who plays Noriko, is famous for her smile. But in this film, the sources talk about how her smile is a mask. She smiles when she's sad. She smiles when she's disappointed.
There's a concept in the academic writing, emotional restraint as a narrative force. That sounds like a contradiction. Restraint as a force.
It does, doesn't it? But think of it like a pressure cooker. When someone is screaming in a movie, the valve is open. All the emotion is released.
Yeah.
When someone holds it in, when they repress it for the sake of harmony, which is a huge part of Japanese culture, the emotion doesn't just disappear. It stays inside. It builds pressure. And as the audience, we feel that pressure.
So by not saying, I'm hurt that you sent us away, the hurt actually feels heavier to us.
Exactly. There's a scene near the end, and I know we said no spoilers, but we have to talk about the watch.
The watch.
Yeah.
Yes, let's set the scene gently.
The mother has passed away. The children have come for the funeral, and almost immediately they're talking about getting back to Tokyo. They want her things, the keepsakes. It's this brutal efficiency. But the father, he gives the mother's old watch to Noriko.
It's a cheap watch. It's not some family heirloom. It's just old, round, simple.
But the gesture is everything. He tells her it's odd, but she was happiest when she stayed with you. He acknowledges the truth that everyone else has been ignoring. And he does it so quietly.
It's devastating because it validates everything we've been feeling for 2 hours. The father saw it all. He knew his kids were cold. He knew Noriko was kind. He just never said it.
That's the payoff of all that silence. When the truth finally comes out, it's not a scream, it's a whisper, and it lands like a hammer.
It's interesting because in a Hollywood movie, the dad would have stood up at the funeral and made a big speech, right?
Yeah.
He'd have shamed the children. You were never there for her.
Exactly, and the audience would have cheered. Justice. But in Tokyo Story, he doesn't. He treats them with kindness. He thanks them. He lets them go back to their busy lives.
Which is arguably more painful.
Much more. Because he accepts the reality of the situation. He accepts that they've drifted away. And that acceptance is what the Japanese call mono-no-aware.
I saw that term in the research. Mono-no-aware. How do you even translate that?
It's so hard to pin down in English. It's something like the pathos of things or a sensitivity to how things pass. It's this bittersweet awareness that everything is temporary.
Cherry blossoms fall.
Parents age. Children leave. It's not a problem to be solved. It's just the nature of life.
So the sadness in the film isn't a depression. It's a recognition.
It's a recognition of the transient nature of life. And Ozu's camera just captures that current. It doesn't fight it.
So what does this all mean for us? Why does a black and white movie about 1950s Japan matter today in a world that is louder than it has ever been?
I think it matters because the world is louder than ever. We're conditioned to think that connection requires constant communication, constant updates, constant noise. This film suggests that the most profound moments of connection or disconnection happen in the gaps.
It really asks us to reflect on our own lives. I mean, how often are we sitting with someone, maybe scrolling on our phone, maybe thinking about the next email, and we're missing the now? We're missing the person sitting on the imaginary tatami mat right next to us.
It raises a really important question. Are we comfortable with silence? Or do we fill it because we're afraid of what we might notice if we just stopped?
The sources describe the feeling the film